An investigation by Compassion in World Farming has exposed a damning catalogue of extended journey times, low welfare standards, abuse and inhumane slaughter in the subsidised trade of cattle exported from the European Union to the Middle East. Working undercover, a team of investigators gathered evidence of the conditions endured by cattle before and after a 3,000-mile, 12-day-long sea voyage from Ireland to Lebanon.
Compassion in World Farming believes that this trade, which is subsidised by European Union taxpayers' money, is a scandalous misuse of funds. It's not just the misuse of funds, it's the animal suffering which really needs to be dealt with. The animals are transported in conditions against the advice of the European Union's advisors, and they're slaughtered in ways that would be illegal under European law. Please watch this video and ask yourselves, is this the best way to spend taxpayers' money in the European Union?
The Rami M was used to transport the first of a number of planned shipments of cattle to Lebanon for the 2004 Irish cattle export season. European Union regulations state that to qualify for export refunds of an average of €231 per animal, conditions must comply with welfare laws throughout the entire duration of the journey. But evidence gathered by CIWF indicates that the enforcement of these standards is minimal. Confronted by the steep angle of the loading ramp, cattle are forced onto the ship with electric goads. According to Irish law, the repeated use of goads is undesirable and should be avoided. Loading continued for nearly 8 hours despite poor weather conditions. Investigators could only speculate why the vet, required by EU regulations to carry out a compulsory check at this stage of the journey, allowed the continued use of goads, contrary to Irish law. The Rami M departed later the same day, but 500 of the total 1,200 cattle had already spent a number of nights on board, after a request from the Irish Department of Marine for adjustments to be made to the ship delayed loading and departure. Subsequently, the total time spent on board the ship by some of these animals was between 17 and 19 days. All endured a sea voyage lasting up to 12 days.
My name is Jonathan Harwood. I'm a 100% food animal vet working for a business called Southern Farm Vets. I've been working as a vet for nearly 20 years. Animals, cattle especially, are not stressed in their home environment, but the moment you take them out of their environment, the stress starts piling on. The more unusual the environment is, or the longer period they are exposed to this unfamiliar environment, they become more and more stressed, such as eventually they go into an almost shutdown mode, look very miserable, will lie down, won't eat or ruminate, such as we saw in some of the frames of the cattle in the video. The moment the journey times are extended to hours, to days, into climate zones where the animals are exposed to immense amounts of heat, they're exposed to conditions of transport, then of course the stress just piles on to them even more, and we see conditions that are quite plainly not carried out in the UK and hopefully not in the EU either.
Subsidies continue to make the export of live cattle to Lebanon a profitable option for traders in the EU, even though such imports have a detrimental effect on local food production and farming.
Breaching the EU law is not good for anyone, and those who breach the law should not be subsidized for their own economical welfare. I think that this is not, anywhere near to either the the animal welfare laws of EU, or even anywhere nearer to the Islamic injunctions for transportation. It is not. It is very distressing.